Hi, this is Luke, and this is Controlling Distance and Depth using Dynamic Grading from Playfair Audio. The punch components in dynamic grading is great for emphasising or de-emphasising transients to bring sounds forward or push them back in the mix. Here I have 3 drum buses. One is unprocessed, one is carrying a more distant sound thanks to dynamic grading, and the third one is carrying a much closer sound, also courtesy of dynamic grading. So you're about to hear 2 bars of unprocessed, 2 bars of distant, and 2 bars of close. Now I'm using my mixer's pan controls as well as ambience and a little HF processing to get the effect that I want, but dynamic grading is adding that extra realism by allowing me to either compress the transient or punch components without affecting the rest of the signal for my distant sound, or crucially allowing me to expand the punch components for my closer sound. The main action is here in the punch component, and I can dial that out to get my transients back if I want. But just compressing down at the very top. Gets the effect that I need. In dynamic grading, I can define where the punch component actually is. So starting to compress a lot more of the signal there. But the big advantage here is I can compress the punch components without affecting the rest of my signal. I also have fine control over the spectrum for the sidechain or trigger input to dynamic grading. And if I'm used to conventional processors, bottom right in dynamic grading, I have a more conventional transfer curve-like window which shows me what's going on as well. And if you're looking for makeup gain, that's right here in the blue block, and this moves all 3 components up or down at the output. So to get my close sound, this time I've dried things up, but I'm also expanding the punch component as well to get that really kind of pokey effect. Can dial it down. You don't need much. Starts to become really apparent. Going to pull that back. And as mentioned, I'm also using a little bit of HF lift just to make things sound just that little bit brighter and more present on my close drum bus, as opposed to a slightly darker sound on my distant drum bus. But all in all, dynamic grading can supply me with some really interesting and useful psychoacoustic effects, as well as advanced dynamic processing, either for control or creative dynamic design. So let's just hear my unprocessed drum bus, followed by my distance drum bus with dynamic grading, punch compression, followed by my close drum bus, which uses dynamic expansion in the punch region. So that's controlling distance and depth using dynamic grading from Playfair Audio. To find out more and to read our full article, head over to the Production Expert blog.